Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news. This is Masters in Business with Barry Ritholtz on Bloomberg Radio.
Happy holidays, and we have an extra special holiday podcast at the Newport Audrain Concours d'Elegance. I sit down with Jay Leno talking about cars, comedy, watches, and pretty much everything else. Jay's a fascinating guy who's created really an amazing career. I thought this conversation was super interesting, and I think you will also. With no further ado, my conversation with the former host of The Tonight Show, Jay Leno. Jay, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start out with a little bit talking about your background. Born in New Rochelle, you grew up in Andover, Massachusetts. Which interest came first, cars or comedy?
Well, when you grow up in a little rural town, you don't think of comedy as a job. You know, it always, the neighbors, Kathy's boy wants to be a comedian. He'll grow out of that. He'll say, don't worry, Kathy. That kind of, people just, it didn't seem like a viable, but, you go to Hollywood and you meet kids who want to be lighting directors or costumers, or because they know people that did that,
right?
But when you're in Andover, it's like, what? Comedian.
So what sparked your interest in comedy? How did you find that path?
I had very good teachers. When I was in high school, I had an English teacher, Mrs. Hawks, and being dyslexic, I was not the best student. And, she said, oh, I see you making jokes in class. And so, do you ever think of writing comedy? I said, well, I never thought it'd be a job. Oh, you should think, oh, yeah, that's a job. I said, I'll tell you, why don't you, maybe you could, instead of writing a paper for the final, you give a talk, And I said, okay. And I tried to put some kid-style jokes in. And it was the first time in my life I actually enjoyed doing homework. And I thought, oh, maybe I can make a living doing this. But as a kid, I think people that are comedians, you tend to remember things that are funny, things that get a reaction, I was in the 4th grade and Mrs. Allen was my teacher. And I always remember this. She was telling us about Robin Hood and how cruel the sheriff of Nottingham was, and he would boil Robin's men in oil. And I put my hand up and I said, you know why he did that to Tuck? And she said, no, why? Because he was a friar. Okay. And then she does one of these. That's not funny. Just stop that. I see. Oh, she's kind of laughing, But the real kicker was later in the day, I'm walking past the teacher's lounge. Leno, come in. What did you say about Friar Tuck? I said, and I went, oh, she told my joke in the teacher's lounge. And I said, he's a friar. Oh, that's a very funny thing. I went, oh, that's pretty good. And I thought, oh, and when you're a kid, people that you tend to remember things that get a laugh. You just sort of
a little bit of attention.
Yeah, you put them in your mind. It makes a little indentation, So that was always something I enjoyed doing. I always remembered it. But again, I never thought I could make a living doing it.
Who were your comedic influences when you were growing up?
Oh, Robert Klein, George Carlin, Richard Pryor. Primarily Klein, because Klein was like me, middle-class white kid. Most comedians at that time tend to be, grew up during the Depression, Henny Youngman, all those kind of guys. Kids today with the long hair, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then along comes Robert Klein and once again, George Carlin, Richard Pryor, Bill Cosby before the recent turn of events. So it was, those were my influences.
So since we're at the Audrain Concours and Motor Week, let's talk a little bit about cars.
Good transition.
Right? Your first car was a 34 Ford stock. What'd you do to it?
I saw it. My dad and I were driving past the Tip Top Miniature Golf in North Reading, Massachusetts. It was parked at the Shell station with a sale sign. I went in and I bought it.
What'd you pay for that?
$350, which was a lot of money in
1965.
But I had been working at McDonald's and I'd saved some money, and so and we dragged it back to my house, and I took a couple of years to get it running, and I got my license and I drove it every day to school.
Self-taught mechanic? What do you mean you took a couple of years to get it?
Self-taught. Well, yeah, I mean, just you're a kid, you're playing with it after school, you know that kind of thing. Yeah, it took me a couple of years to learn how to do. Yeah, I guess self-taught would be the fair way to say it. Yeah.
So 34 Ford is the gateway drug. At what point did you realize this is more than a hobby? This became something of a passion,
well,
even
when
an
I had
obsession.
a garage full of cars, I had, perhaps this is more than, yeah.
Well, how many cars is too many? At what point do you need help
Well,
just
I have
maintaining?
214 on the road now.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Plus the motorcycles.
You see, I watch the show Hoarders and go, the guy's fine. What's the problem, man? You can still get to the bathroom. Look,
But that's old newspapers. You have motorcycles and cars, something a little more reasonable.
when you're a parent, they're the same thing.
Right. So, how do you decide of the 214 cars, which one you're going to take that
Okay,
day?
that's a first world problem.
Mhm.
That's not
Very
really-
much so.
People don't want to hear a rich guy go, how do I decide? Oh, I just can't decide which car. Oh, God. Have Jeeves do it. No, I mean, whatever I'm working on, if I do one oil change a day, it takes 18 months. So
Right.
you have to look at it that way.
Right.
So whatever you just worked on, you say, oh, well, let me drive it home to see if it's okay. So that's what I enjoy.
So you're a little bi-coastal. You're in L.A., but you also have a place here in Newport.
I do have a place, and I also have a house in Andover, Massachusetts, where I grew up. Yeah.
Do you keep any cars out here as
No,
well?
I don't, because of the weather and,
So what do you drive when you're
I'm
out
one
here?
of these people.
Really?
Somebody's touching my car, so if my car was on another coast, that would be horrible. Like when we go out to eat, if I can't see the restaurant from my table, we're not eating here, honey.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how Leno's Garage came about. I have this fantasy that your accountant says to you,
No. I have a garage.
uh-huh,
I have friends with cameras.
uh-huh.
I'm on TV already. This seems like a fairly natural transition. So why don't you take the TV hobby and put it on TV? And this way you try to, monetize as much as you can. I did it for nothing for the first, 15 years.
Really?
Yeah. Just because I enjoyed doing it, it was fun. And it just opens up another, you should have something. I'm not a particularly interesting person, so if you have other things of interest that other people like, then you have something in common, you can talk about it. So cars, motorcycles, anything that rolls, explodes, makes noise is interesting.
Do you know what the cars that are top of the list here are going to be? Have you walked around, seen much so far?
Oh, yeah, you have some of the best cars in the world here. This is quite an event. And inevitably you see something you've never seen before or never even heard of. All countries are working on automobiles in different, you had cars from Czechoslovakia that people on the other side of the mountains never heard of, like a Tatra. It was a very unusual car. Most Americans never seen one, but it's very popular in Czechoslovakia, or what was then Czechoslovakia at the time. So it's a fascinating hobby. And the nice thing about it is it's no more than really 150 years old. If you like Egyptology, well, now you got to go back 6,000 years and stand in hot sun and dig in the sand, and with cars, you only have to go back a few years.
We took a walk down the boulevard earlier. The two that kind of leapt out to me, aside from the Gullwing, I know you have one of those, was the Talbot Lagos.
Talbot Lago, yeah.
Spectacular.
Yeah, very interesting car. They're very Art Deco.
Yes.
It's only in recent years cars are seen as kinetic artwork.
Right.
It used to be it's just an old car. But now people are looking at them and, it's, you can buy a painting like this for $100 million. You can
Right.
get something that rolls down the road, looks pretty, has a practical element to it. So
And only cost a tenth as much.
Yeah, only costs a tenth, or sometimes almost as much.
Right.
Ferraris go for, I think the last Ferrari sold for $75 million.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
That's a one of one, though, right?
No, it's one of 13.
13, wow.
Yeah.
I also saw, and there wasn't a sign on it, so I'm doing this by sight, but a Mercedes SK500, the giant front fenders. Spectacular also.
They are. I try to enjoy some suspicious things happen in Germany from the 30s till the middle 40s. I tend to avoid those for obvious reasons. But the early ones I love, yeah.
So let's talk about some of these classic designs. What do you think has aged especially well? What looks good, perhaps that wasn't thought of so well when it first came out?
What has aged well that wasn't thought when it first came out? It's two different cores. shapes evolve. I mean, cars used to change just for the sake of change. Now they change mostly because of aerodynamics and efficiency and things of that nature. You know, I mean, a Prius is about an efficient shape as you can get, but it's not. It's attractive enough, but it's not striking. It doesn't take your breath away the way some Ferraris by Pininfarina or whatever. You know, back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, things were drawn by hand. So there's a
flow?
Yeah, flow, yeah. Like now everything is sort of computer design. You have all these sort of weird angles and things like that. But, you know, the best looking cars are both masculine and feminine, like an XKE. I don't know any women that don't find Jaguars attractive. Even women that don't know anything about cars. There's something about, because it has a feminine element to it, but then it has the rear haunches, and so it has a masculine. So it's a little bit of both to it, you know. A lot of cars look too brutal, you know, Lamborghini Countach. Those look like guy cars. So
right.
You drive one and girls go, how old are you? You know, you
Boy toy.
You pull them a Jag, you're like, ooh, well, I like that guy. Yeah.
So sometimes the proportions, the shapes, the lines, they speak to everybody. They're universal.
Yeah. I mean, the trick is, well, if it speaks to everybody, then you have a Corolla. You know, the best cars, some people love it, some people hate it. Anything that gets emotion going is probably going to work on some level. You know, I remember talking to Bob Lutz about this when the Viper came out and said, a lot of people think it looks like a cartoon car. It's a bit over-exaggerated. He goes, we're not trying to sell it to them. We're trying to sell it to the people who think it looks good. And there's enough of them out there, you know.
For sure. So let's talk about, people have to ask you questions about cars all the time.
But they don't have to, actually. Most of them just
People
volunteer.
must. I assume lots of people do.
Yeah.
When someone asks you for a recommendation, what do you recommend as a good, cheap set of wheels for a budding enthusiast?
Well, you know, there are almost, for an enthusiast or for transportation?
Transportation is easy. I mean someone who wants something fun for the weekend.
Well, first they tell me what it is they're looking for. You know, I mean, obviously you have cars, Mustangs, Camaros, things of this nature, any sort of two-seater sports car. Yeah, there's plenty of choices out there. You don't need me for that. You know?
So this event is sponsored in part by Lange and Söhne. We're both wearing Lange watches. What drew you to watches?
See, I paid for mine.
So did I.
Oh, you did?
I paid for mine also. So, and you probably have access to more of these than I can get. So,
well, it's interesting. You know, watchmaking and automotive things have a lot in common because they're both extremely mechanical. Most watch people don't really like electric watches the same way they don't like quartz watches. Quartz watches are obviously the most accurate you can get, but they don't appear to have a soul to them. You know, with these kind of things, when you turn, you hear it's a sort of the watch needs you. If you don't wind it, it won't run. So there's a human element that needs to be attached to the watch to get it to the run, you know.
And if you flip it over, you can see the absolute spectacular mechanicals on the other side.
Yeah, they do a beautiful job.
Right. So very parallel, the precision and intricacy of a mechanical watch and a classic automobile.
Yeah, I see them as somewhat similar. I mean, I like things that need me. You know, my cars need me because I need to do certain things to make sure they run correctly. Electric cars kind of run no matter who the master is. You know, it's about like that screen door. After a while, you learn it has to be shut a certain way, and normal people can't do it. But you know that if you lift it and turn it just a quarter of an inch, it'll click in.
Coming up, we continue our conversation with Jay Leno, live from the Newport Audrain Concours d'Elegance, discussing how a career in comedy and car collecting led to a fascination with mechanical timepieces. I'm Barry Ritholtz. You're listening to Masters in Business on Bloomberg Radio. I'm Barry Ritholtz. You're listening to Masters in Business on Bloomberg Radio. My extra special guest this week is Jay Leno, comedian, car collector, timepiece enthusiast. Let's return to our conversation live at the Newport Audrain Concours d'Elegance. What are your thoughts on the new EVs and hybrids that are coming out? What does this do to the collectible market. I believe you have a Tesla Plaid, is that right?
I have a Tesla Plaid. It's a great... Look, I use my electric car during the week. I mean, sitting on the freeway in a 1966 Hemi 426 that gets 3 miles per gallon doesn't really make a lot of sense. You're not going fast. You're just annoying people and poisoning the atmosphere. So you take your electric car. Then on the weekends, if there's a car rally, you drive your Mustang or whatever car you have to the rally. You sit around, you tell lies about it to other people, and they tell you lies about their car. And, it's a sort of a little bit of interaction.
So I mentioned the precision of automobiles and the precision of watches. You have famously been touring for 40 plus years. When you put together a stand-up set, do you put the same sort of precision into structuring that set as you do with the car?
I like to think so. I mean, you want to have a joke every 6 to 9 seconds. It's a bit like spinning plates at a television show, and then you want to keep it going, So you want to make sure that the people, you're not wasting people's time. I hate when people, how you all doing? Woo! Anybody from Boston? Woo! Boston, yeah! Okay, that's not comedy. You've wasted 40 seconds. Get right into it. Yeah, keep it moving. When you watch Rodney I was a big fan of Rodney Dangerfield. And it was the economy of words. It's getting the funniest words you can in the shortest amount of time. Rodney had jokes I loved, like I walked by the strip joint. It said topless and bottomless. I went in. There was nobody there. I mean, it's a funny joke. I mean, because I didn't waste your time. It wasn't a 3-minute setup. One of his favorite jokes, it's so stupid. My doctor wanted a semen sample, a stool sample, and a urine sample. So I gave him my underpants. Okay. But it's quick. Boom, boom, boom. You're not wasting people's time.
Really interesting. So you've been known as somebody who just has toured his whole career. Even during, 22 years of The Tonight Show, you still were doing stand-up on a regular basis.
Well, when you're on television, you rely on 175 other people. Mm-hmm. They really can't do the show without all the elements to it. And when you go out on the road, you're by yourself. You rise or fall strictly on your own ability. And I like that. You get all the blame, but you also get all the glory. And I like that. Plus, it's piecemeal. Write joke, tell joke, get check. Boom. Next show. Nobody says, the jokes you told 2 months ago, they're not working out. Come back. You got to come back and do the show again. You don't have to do that. On TV, there's so many irons in the fire and whatnot, and you're dealing with, My favorite TV line of all time, when NBC was letting me go, I said, I've been number one for 22 years. Well, for 18 of the 22 years. And they said, we want what's above number one. I said, okay, what is above? What is above number? I mean, it just made me laugh. And even they realized how stupid that sounded. I said, what do you mean? How can you have, what's above? Just tell me. Somebody tell me what it is. Yeah, it just made me laugh.
So since this is Bloomberg, a financial network, let's talk a little bit about money.
All right.
You are known as someone who is savvy with your money. You only spent the money you earned doing stand-up.
Well, I'm not savvy. I'm dyslexic.
Yeah.
Okay, so consequently, I don't really understand it. All I know is I work and my money relaxes. That's I don't want my money out working for me because it's going to screw up somewhere. I don't want that. Whenever I hear, and there's minimal risk. And I hear the word risk and minimal, so that means I'm going to lose something.
Right.
No, I don't. I always had, even as a kid, I worked at Wilmington Ford, I worked at McDonald's. Whichever job made the most, I banked, and the other money was my...
You did the same with The Tonight Show. You banked The Tonight Show.
I never touched a check in 22 years from The Tonight Show.
That's amazing.
I banked everything, and I lived on the money I made as a comedian. Then when the show ended, I opened this little passbook. Oh, look, there's quite a bit of money here. This is good, yeah.
So when you started collecting cars, did you ever envision this collection would get this large or this valuable?
No, I never thought that. No, when I remember I would sleep in the alleys in New York, and it was the most depressing. I remember sleeping in alleys. It was one of those alleys where guys would come with hookers, and I'd be in the back just hiding behind some trash cans, and they were doing whatever. Really, this is my life now? I mean, it was like the most horrible. That
really, on the road, you were that hard scrabble.
On 44th and 9th, there was Dyke's Lumberyard right across the way. And from the alley where I slept a couple of nights, I could see Dyke's Lumberyard. I always had that in my mind. And hookers would come in, and it's just horrible It's terrible. They just hear terrible sounds. It's horrible. I said, really? This is my life? This is what it is now? You know, so everything better than that was gravy. Yeah.
Well, it's been a little bit of gravy. You recently had a gull-wing you found in a barn. You've had a number of barns.
I didn't buy that. I didn't buy that car. Was found. It was sold for $10 million, and we had the owner.
You had it on the show.
We had it on the show. Yes, I did not. I would like to have owned that car, but no, I didn't buy it.
Didn't you find a number of barn finds, cars?
Oh, yeah, sure.
What are some of the more memorable ones?
Well, the most recent one was a 1963 Jaguar XKE. The guy bought it in 62, started drinking about 66, 67. He became a hoarder, just had trash piled on top of it. When he died, the family called me. They said, guys right across the street, my uncle's had some kind of car. We don't know what it was. And it was a Jaguar. And I said, and this is really the best way. I said, look, Google it, find out what's it worth, okay? Find out what they're worth and let me know, and I'll pay you that. And that's what I did.
Seems fair.
Yeah, I mean, I paid more than a fair price because I don't flip cars, I don't sell cars. So to me, this way nobody goes, Jay Leno ripped me. You don't want any of that. Any
cars on your list that you're still hunting for? Anything you'd like to have?
I buy the story as much as I buy the car.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, to me, the fun, I had a lady call me, 94 years old, and her and her husband bought a 51 Hudson Hornet in New Jersey. They drove it to California with their 2 kids. He bought a gas station. He ran that for the next 30 years. He died sometime in the early 90s. She calls me about 2000, I guess, 3, 4. My husband died like 20 years ago. We got this car. I say, I already have a 53 Honda. Will you come look at it, man? Okay, so I got to look at it. She's 94, no hearing aid, no glasses, right? And she said, would you give me $5,000 for it? Okay, so I bought it. I take it back to my garage. It takes about a year and a half. We get it all finished. Let me see if she's still alive. I call her up. Hello. Oh, it's Jay Leno. I said, the car's all finished. You want to go for a ride? She said, okay. Now she's 96. Okay. And she says, can I bring the kids? I said, yeah, bring the kids. So I get there, and the kids have got a blindfold. And the kids are 74 and 72. And they're blindfolded, right? And she's like touching the car. Oh, the paint feels so smooth. Oh, it used to be so rough. We'll take the blind. Oh, and she starts crying. We want to go let's go for a ride. So the kids get in the back, right? So we're driving along and we're talking. And the 2 kids start doing this to each other, poking each other, right? And she turns around. I told you kids, and she's whacking the crap out of me. Mr. Leno was nice enough to take us for a ride in his car, and you kids can't be here. And the 3 of them are just laughing. I mean, they're just falling down. And she's not holding back. I mean, she's really hitting them, but she's laughing while she's hitting them, And it was just so funny. It was just so funny. She lived to be 106.
Wow.
And every time I get in that car, it makes me laugh because it was just so fun to see these 2 old men. And they all look the same age. She's 96, they're 74. And she's just whacking the crap out of it. Hilarious.
So more stories than there's a hole in your collection or you're enamored with this?
No, I haven't enamored with this. No.
It's just about the stories.
My key to success is low self-esteem.
I've heard you say that before.
Yes, because if you have low self-esteem, you never assume you're the smartest person in the room. I assume I'm the dumbest person in the room. Let me look around and see what the other people are doing here. And that's what you do. I have so many friends that do TV shows, and they really think, I want to change these lights. And the lighting director, who's been in the business 40 years, I don't think, no, wait, I want to change. Well, no, I don't. Why don't you just let the lighting director do his job? The fun thing about The Tonight Show was when I did it, anybody could pull a cord and stop the train. Because I don't like this, I don't think this is funny. Did it get to be annoying? Sometimes. But everybody felt they had a say in what was going on. They felt like they were part of the whole system. This idea that, do not make eye contact with the star and just all that kind of nonsense. So to me, that was always the key to being successful.
Coming up, we continue our conversation with Jay Leno, live from the Newport Audrain Concours d'Elegance. I'm Barry Ritholtz. You're listening to Masters in Business on Bloomberg Radio. I'm Barry Ritholtz. You're listening to Masters in Business on Bloomberg Radio. My extra special guest this week is Jay Leno, comedian, car collector, timepiece enthusiast. Let's return to our conversation live at the Newport Audrain Concours d'Elegance. So let's stay with the Tonight Show and comedy. Right. You've interviewed a few presidents, right? You interviewed Barack Obama. What other presidents did you interview? Was
Barack Obama.
Was Reagan before you started on?
No, I interviewed Reagan. I had dinner with Reagan at the White House a couple of times, but he wasn't ever on the show. Barack Obama was the first sitting president ever to do the show. Mm-hmm. Barack Obama, Hillary had the nomination locked up. And then he announced he was running for president. So I called him up and said, "You want to come on the show?" Oh, thank you so much. He rented a car, drove himself to the show. Walks out. I go, "Jay, my name's Barack Hussein Obama. I'm running for president of the United States." I said, "Okay, black guy from Chicago named Hussein." I said, "You shouldn't even have to campaign. I just think you're a shoo-in with that." And he got the joke, and he laughed, and he was very funny. And we got to be friends. And so next time he came on the show, I asked him, it was the first time a sitting president ever did. And the whole parking lot was tented. Mm-hmm. So a satellite could not see when he came in. Where it came in. And I mean, I've told this story, but I have the same idiot friends I had in 8th grade. So I'm telling him I had Barack Obama on the show, and he gave me his phone number. You didn't get it. You said you did. All right, let's call him up. I go, it's the President of the United States. I'm not going to call him up. No, you don't have it. So I take out my phone book and I cover the phone and I go, "See what it says there? Barack Obama, President of the United States." His phone number's right in here. I said, all right, I'll call him. You want me to call him? I'll call him. It's like 3 o'clock. I figure, okay, what can go wrong? Yeah. "Hello, Barack here. Mr. President." "Yeah." "Jay Leno." "What can I do for you, Jay?" "I'm just here with some of my friends." "Lose this number, Jay." Click.
So your reputation has never been a very political comedian. You play it straight down the middle.
Well, we used to get quoted every day in the New York Times. We tried to make fun of both sides. Yeah, mm-hmm. But that's the way we did it. That's not the way everybody else does it, but that's okay.
So recently, Jimmy Kimmel mentioned on the air that you called to check in on him when he was temporarily suspended. What do you think the future of late night looks like, and what does that say about that comedians have to watch what they say?
Well, apparently they don't have to watch what they say because he's back on TV. Mm-hmm. Okay, I mean, you either believe in free speech or you don't. Free speech, it only becomes annoying when it says something you don't like. Mm-hmm. Other than that, it's fine. And that's really the only problem. And there's always something somebody doesn't like, whether it's banning books or Huck Finn or whatever it might be. So to me, I always support free. I mean, I support Jimmy as a comedian, but also just the whole premise. You don't have to agree with him to realize. I mean, I had people that tore me apart every day, but they had the right to do it. I didn't like what they said, but I agree with their right to say it if they chose.
You have Dave Chappelle speaking at the Comedy Festival in Saudi Arabia, mm-hmm. saying he feels like free speech is under assault in the U.S., not that Saudi Arabia is a hotbed of free speech.
Well, yeah. Again, I don't like this new thing of comics criticizing other comics. It's just, we're comedians, okay? Just, I believe in free speech. I shouldn't have to say any more than that. And I will defend it to the end. But, and how about when he said this? Again, whatever, I don't have to agree with it. Mm-hmm. It's like the Nazis marching in Skokie. Okay, they have the right to do that. I don't agree with it. What, does he like to see someone punch them in the face? Yes, but I don't want that to be police doing it. If some angry Jewish guy was to go out, well, okay, it's fine with me. I might even cheer him on, but I think it's America.
And what about in the era of streaming, what about the future of late night? We heard Colbert is supposedly not profitable. I don't know how true that is. We heard similar threats about Jimmy's show. How do you look at, you were a steward of The Tonight Show for 22 years. Yeah. What do you think the future of this looks like?
Well, I mean, when you can turn on streaming and see Harrison Ford talk for a half an hour saying whatever you want unscripted, or you could watch him do a 7-minute segment on a talk show, what are you going to do?
Or Jay Leno for 45 minutes unscripted.
Well, I mean, to me, I think it's just the nature of television. It changes. It goes from one thing to another. I mean, it's like going from CD players to cassettes to CDs. It's just another format that you can use. So the thing that really kills late night is the incessant number of commercials. Mm-hmm. After 11:30, you can run like 9 minutes at 12 o'clock. Some crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. So, and when you realize you've just watched all 3 Godfather movies in a row without one commercial, suddenly seeing Jake from State Farm again, okay, enough with this guy. To me, that's the thing that's really hurt late night. It's not necessarily what people say. It's the fact that people go, oh God, another commercial. You just weed through it.
All right, so we don't want to keep you all day because we know you have a lot of places to go, cars to see. All right. I want to do a speed round.
Speed round.
Right. A dozen questions in under a minute. I'm just going to throw these at you and give me your answers.
All right.
Starting with, what's your favorite car to drive?
A Duesenberg.
What's your favorite motorcycle in your garage?
A Bruff Superior.
What car offers the best bang for the buck?
Corvette.
What's your favorite car in your collection? Not necessarily a driver, but just the favorite car.
McLaren F1.
That's a tough one to argue with. What's been the biggest maintenance annoyance in your collection?
My 1925 Doble steam car.
The one that kind of blew up? Is that the one we're talking about?
That blew up, but that wasn't the one that actually blew up in my face. No.
Any cars you have any regrets passing on?
Oh, yeah. Voisin.
What modern car features do you find most annoying?
Probably the infotainment system. I have my 51 Hudson. I reach over, I press a button, I get a station. I don't have to stop and look at it. Are you happy with this? Yes. Would you make this selection again? Yes. Others have made this selection. Would you continue? Yes, I would. Would you pick your language? English is good. Thank you. It gets
annoying. What car do you drive the most often from your collection?
Oh, I don't know. I drive a lot of them quite often.
That's what they were made for.
Model T is kind of fun. I guess I don't drive that much. Probably the Mustang. That's pretty good. Well, actually, the Tesla when I have to go to the airport and all those kind of things.
What's the rarest car in your collection? Not necessarily the most valuable, but one of very few.
Well, that would be the Doble steam car. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is there any one brand you would never buy that you stay away from?
No, not every one brand.
You don't have a lot of Ferraris, right?
No, I don't have any Ferraris, but it has nothing to do with the cars. The cars are excellent. For the longest time, you had to buy 2 Mondials before you're allowed to buy the car. So I just never took part in that.
What car surprises people the most, whether driving it or just the way it's put together?
Well, I have the kind of cars, people are not surprised that I got there early or late. They're surprised I got there at all. When you show up in a 1906 Stanley Steamer and it's on fire, people are like, oh my God, your car's on fire. Yeah, I know it's supposed to be. You carry open flame.
What's the most recent addition to the collection?
A Mustang GTD.
What's the best sounding engine you own?
Porsche Carrera GT V10.
And final question, is there one dream car you're still hunting for?
No, I'm quite happy with what I have. Like I say, be happy with what you have. Just make sure you have enough.
There you go. Thank you, Jay, for being so generous with your time.
Thank you.
That was my live interview with Jay Leno at the Newport Audrain Concours d'Elegance. If you enjoyed that conversation, check out any of the 592 we've done over the past 12 years. You can find those at iTunes, Spotify, Bloomberg, YouTube, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And be sure and check out my new book, How Not to Invest, the Ideas, Numbers, and Behavior That Destroys Wealth, and How to Avoid Them at Your Favorite Bookstore or Bookseller. I would be remiss if I did not thank the crack team that puts these conversations together each week. My videographer at the live event was Sebastian Escobar. Alexis Noriega is my video producer. Anna Luke is my podcast producer. Sean Russo is my researcher. Sage Bauman is the head of podcasts here at Bloomberg. I'm Barry Ritholtz. You've been listening to Masters in Business on Bloomberg Radio.